Hey, Steady Steve, please like and subscribe. Please click on the Deck Heroes icon, 100% free. Well, apart from blood in, blood out. Jokes aside though, this video is all about Gareth Southgate, the England manager resigning. I just want to play him some props, talk about where he took us from in the bad old days where we wasn't getting anywhere. He's got us to two finals and a semi-final, you know what I mean? So that has to be acknowledged. And we were a couple of penalties away. Was it 4 penalties away, if not 5 penalties away in the World Cup from going to the next stage? And listen, he's done a lot, not just in terms of the football, but off the pitch as well. But I think with that type of job, the England job specifically, there's a massive recency effect in as much as you can't excuse the performances that we saw this year. We can't forget, the limitations in previous years and the lack of success we expect to win basically in England, given our ranking and given how many of our top players are in the top leagues all around the world in the top teams. And that wasn't achieved. But anyway, nobody can forget those first 4 games. We stank the tournament out. And we lost in the final. It was definitely the easy side of the draw. And we dramatically underperformed. They didn't really play any football. We just played long ball. And thank goodness for the quality of our players more so than the manager, in my point of view. And otherwise, we would have been completely blown away. And Jordan Pickford, if you remember, saved 2 amazing saves, if not more. And yeah, it wasn't good enough. And it's definitely the right time for him to move on. But again, we do acknowledge the good man that he is, and that, in my point of view, that he's reached the level, the peak of what he can do. And I don't think he was going to kick on and do much more in the World Cup. So happy days. Happy days looking back and looking forwards. The conversation, as I will get to the video, the conversation does move on to, well, who's going to replace him? The worrying thing is that they're talking about another English manager. And of course, I don't mind it being an English manager, but at the end of the day, if we look at the top leagues around the world, there's no representation at the top anyway of British managers, which brings us back to, we might as well have kept Southgate then. Because he's just of a similar level, maybe even more proven than others, ignoring the potential of a Newcastle type manager, maybe. That specific Newcastle manager, who at the moment is being highly touted, but it's from a list of, they're saying about, I've heard about 3 managers suggested, but really it's a list of 1. So we either go international or we have the best of the, I don't say mediocrity because Newcastle's a big team, but you know what I mean? It's not won anything at the top level in the same way. And I don't think many people would argue that if we could have a Pep Guardiola and play that type of football, not only would we be more successful, our players play in that type of system. I'm not talking about just Foden and, I can't remember the name that right back now, and the other England players, but in Arsenal, they've got a Spanish manager. That's another one. Basically, we've got international managers, the best around the world, who are showing how to play football, and they're just better at their job at the top tier. So we can either try and look for somebody else of a top tier to manage us, which will increase our chances of success, or we can just look for somebody who happens to be British, who we know is unproven. Either we can say unproven or unproven in terms of actual achievements at the top level, or just unsuccessful in as much as their performances to date have not warranted getting that job. You know what I mean? So do we want to be successful or not? Short story. I think that's enough from me. Let's go and see what the boys can say.
Hello and welcome to the Rest is Football. We're just a couple of days on from England's defeat in the final of Euro 2024, and the fallout has begun. Gareth Southgate has left as England boss after 8 years in charge. In a statement from Gareth himself, he said, "As a proud Englishman, it has been the honour of my life to play for England and to manage England. It has meant everything to me, and I have given it my all, but it's time for change and for a new chapter. The squad we took to Germany is full of exciting young talent, and they can win the trophy we all dream of. We have the best fans in the world, and their support has meant the world to me. I'm an England fan, and I always will be. I look forward to watching and celebrating as the players go on to create more special memories and to connect and inspire the nation as we know they can. Thank you, England. for everything. Micah Richards is with me to reflect on this breaking news. Alan Shearer's got his trotters up somewhere in the sunshine. Micah, we thought we were going to have a couple of days off, but this is obviously it's a big moment, big breaking news. So we wanted to get on and discuss our thoughts. I'm not overly surprised. I thought it might take a bit longer. I thought he might have a good thing, but I'm not overly surprised. I think it must be very draining being the coach of a national team.
Yeah, I think first and foremost, we have to congratulate him on bringing the harmony to the camp, dealing with all sorts of different issues within the camp, speaking so eloquently on topic.
So that does remind me, there's one thing I absolutely have to change just for all our sanity. 1.25 for the win, baby.
Which maybe certain managers in the past would have just sort of, I don't know what the best word to say is, but just put it to the side, I would say. And I feel like he approaches everything.
What sort of issues are you talking about? Perhaps the way the players were treated after the thing?
Yes, whether that be, race, whether that be like social issues. In terms of that, I feel he's dealt with those issues better than anybody else. So I would like to congratulate him on that. It feels sad, if I'm being totally honest, because for someone who's such a top human being, you want them to do so well in life. And he's done a magnificent job from where they were to where they are, or where he's left them. He's left them in a way better position. I think I agree with you. It's become draining. I think at times he's found it very hard to get his philosophy across because he's had to deal with so much things and the pressure of the English manager. So an example of that, all the fans were crying out for Trent Alexander-Arnold to play. He puts him in, and then we're all talking about Trent's not a midfielder, and then in the system that we play, it doesn't suit him. Then he's stuck with Trippier at left back, but Trippier's been dependable. He leaves out Jack Grealish because he's always said he wanted to play people on form. That was an issue. So I feel like...
Listen, so I'm not going to keep stopping it, but I've got to stop it at Jack Grealish. It was absolutely... Listen, one of the reasons why he had to go is because you can't just not have a plan for the left-hand side, right? That's number one. Or at the minimum, if I'm going to give him any leeway, I think he had a vision for Foden on the left, right? And I can forgive that. Because at the end of the day, Foden is not only a left-footed player, and what we assume is and I definitely confirm he's an amazingly talented player. So you would think if he is an amazingly talented player, if you give him the instructions of what to do on the left, then he should be able to do it, right? But I did say in another video, to really play on the wings these days in the modern game, you need to have pace. We've got pace on the right with Saka, and he likes to come in on his left and shoot, or that's what he likes to do basically. And we saw when he came in with that winning goal. Foden has just the creativity. That's what we want. That's why he's got to be in the middle, more so than on the left. But what the compromise we saw in the final was we had Bellingham on the left. But yeah, listen. If we were playing like we actually wanted to win, and if we weren't playing like kind of fantasy football, we would have people in their best positions, wouldn't we, at the end of the day? And whilst I do still commend Bellingham on the left-hand side, and I don't think whoever we put on the left was going to make a difference, because Spain set up their traps and we didn't have any solutions for it. And that's another reason why Southgate had to go. So knowing how Spain played the same way in every single match, including us, and we didn't have a solution for it. So what's the manager for if it's not to find solutions so we can play and impose our game and counteract their game or nullify their game? And none of those things applied. Let's go.
Going into the tournament, no matter what he did, was never going to be good enough unless he won it. Yeah. And as for the scrutiny, when you're not playing free-flowing football, you have to win the tournament. Otherwise, we have to scrutinise the way they play. But as a person, as a man, where he's taken England, he's done an amazing job. I just feel for him and for everyone moving forward, it was definitely the right decision.
I would concur with pretty much all you said there, Micah. I think he was the right man at the right time. And don't forget the pickle England were in when he took over. We just lost to Iceland. The team came home in sort of footballing disgrace, and he's picked up. And he's brought, as you said quite rightly, a harmony to the squad, and also an affinity restored from fans to footballers, which was also lost. So he got that. And then he made England competitive again. Now, obviously, we started to get talent coming through, this young, rich vein of talent that we have. And, he went close. He went very close. But we all know Gareth was a defender for England. And he was a defender in mind when he was a coach. Now, there's nothing wrong with that at all. And it nearly won England a tournament. I mean, they missed out by the narrowest of margins in a penalty shootout 3 years ago. They went close again in this final, although the best team won, we know that. Spain were the best team by far. But I think altogether, the problems... We spoke to Rio Ferdinand, didn't we, recently? And he was saying how the kind of so separated and cliquey the whole England squad was, that players from Manchester United sat on one table, players from Liverpool sat on another table, players from Arsenal sat on another table. He's brought togetherness in that squad that is actually quite joyous and glorious. And that has been one of the reasons why England have become very competitive. So he leaves England in really, really good shape. Way better shape than when he took the job on all those years ago. And he deserves massive credit for that. And I agree with you, Micah, as well, that, he's such a decent man, that it feels a little bit sad. But I think he can definitely hold his head high. Like all managers in all jobs, particularly national team managers, they get criticism from time to time. But I think he always took it in the right way. And I think he's got a legacy, and the legacy will be that this group of young players will go on to bigger and better things. He's just a lovely, lovely human being, and wish him all the very best in the future. People say today, I've spoken to people in the street and they said, why do you think it was? I mean, I've actually had journalists coming on saying, do you think it's because of what you said on The Rest is Football in the start of the tournament? Honestly, I mean, they constantly try to put a wedge between us and players. And
hold on, man. Lineker, man, honestly, I love you, man. I rate you, man. I thank you for your service to the country. But let's be clear, right? So Lineker, if anybody doesn't know, Lineker is one of the legends of English football. He's the figurehead of the main football channel on our main TV channel for many, many, many years, right? So it's not like, some ex-player who's got no social media plus general established media profile. He's got the highest media profile. So, of course, anything that he says carries some weight, and they've only just really started being critical, right? But I say critical, but in some ways I want to say honest. And I think, I love Lineker as well, politically and in terms of his sport. And he was right to say it, and he was absolutely correct in addressing some of these issues. I think he was... in terms of the issues in relation to the manager and the system of play and it just not working and the problems they saw in front of his eyes, and leaning on some of the experience playing for Tottenham, for Leicester, for Barcelona, for some of the best managers of yesteryear, and in his own thoughts as well. So I think he's being honest, and if he's not being honest, then, or if you're not allowed to be honest, then what is the point? What I'm trying to say is I don't think he was voicing his opinion just for clicks. I think he was saying it just to, just to hopefully that Gareth would listen or hear or just change the outcomes, really. And you know what? Maybe it did work, because at some point it did change the system. And there were a lot of managers who did encourage Gareth to go back to the system of, four at the back, and it just didn't work. But that's what we're going. So all I'm really saying is that Lineker, I don't think you can play too pious on this one, especially now that we started this on Harry Kane, because the one person that you singled out was our all-time leading goal scorer, it's just been amazing for Bayern, as he was amazing in a understrength team for Tottenham, you know what I mean? And when I say understrength, I don't, obviously he's in the best league in the world, Premier League currently, but it was never on the leagues in the levels of Man City or Arsenal or the Man United. I know this is a point of view thing, but the fact is the trophies tell. And I think most people are at pains to say that Harry Kane is trophy bear, but still been an amazing player and an amazing performer. But if you, as an attacker, say single him out for criticism and say his legs are gone and things like that, then obviously that's going to be noted, and that's going to affect him and his confidence and his performance. and maybe even enter his decision making or the decision making of important people around him. So yes, your opinion carries weight. I think yes, it's from an honest place, but let's not play that it doesn't have an impact, because it has a massive impact.
Management. I mean, just the silliness of it.
That's unfair. Before you go on, guys, that is totally unfair. We know that the listeners were growing throughout the tournament. We have been nothing but supportive of England, the players, and the manager. If you come out and you say in a jokey way that England weren't great, and then we break down the game as to why they wasn't great, that is totally fine.
Of course it is. We were critical at times because you can't say when a team is not playing very well that they played well. If they played awfully, you say they played awfully. And they did in the early part of the tournament. There's no question about that. But then to try and make it that's the reason, the criticism is the reason he's gone. It's not that. It's not that at all. We speak to the players and, they totally understand where it's coming from. And obviously the one thing we've always wanted to do is be fair. And I think we've been unquestionably fair on England. There's no doubt about that. Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's time for a change. I think probably for Gareth's well-being as well, because it must be such a tough job, the England job. And it's the same with other national team managers. And, even though obviously it's not the day-to-day toughness, because it's a different kind of job, but the pressure, the expectation on an England manager to win things. And even though he's been to 2 finals, I think it's the desperation to win a bloody trophy that makes it even harder probably to get that first trophy. And I think if we ever do, then it'll go on from that. And he went so close.
What a story it would have been, though, as well. I mean, we talked about De La Fuente of Spain coming through the younger ages, the 19s and the 21s, and then going to the full men's national team. It would just have been a great story for an underdog. All the devastation from the penalty miss all those years ago for Southgate to then get us to a final, and then it would have just been a Cinderella end, wouldn't it? But football's not like that. Football sometimes is cruel. You have highs and lows, but he can be proud in the way he's handled himself. And some of the football at times has been very good. If you look at the game in the quarterfinals in the World Cup, England actually played very well.
Very well in that.
It's just the fact that with the players we have, we didn't seem to have moved forward at the pace in which we all expected. So, yeah, good luck to Gareth. All the best in the future.
What do England do now, Micah? I mean, the lack of English options. There are a couple. There are a few. But obviously Graham Potter has been in the frame. He's actually the bookie's favourite, I saw. And then I've got the bet in here, actually. He's 11-4. Lee Carsley, 3-1. Is the under-21 coach that led them to success. Eddie Howe, 7-2. And then after that, the only other Englishman in the frame is possibly Frank Lampard at around 20-1. And then you've got Pochettino, Klopp, Tuchel.
I just want to say, number one, I wasn't dissing Mika Richards to increase the speed of the video. It's just I watched the video before, and they do go through these points quite slowly. So that's the reason why I should have done it ahead. It wasn't just because I spotted Mika. Okay, so they mentioned a few managers there. Most of those managers, unless you follow English football very closely, you're not going to be aware of. And I'm going to go past the Newcastle guy, because at least he's in, playing a Premier League manager. And go to the England under-21 coach. So the theory was that they wanted some stability in terms of management structure and player structure, so that one thing builds on another, right? But surely, despite his success, and I do acknowledge, that he's going to have his own ideas, the England under-21 coach, who potentially may take on the first team. Surely the structure is that Gareth is the person who dictates, or is the model that all the systems below follow. That's a principle, right? Similar to the Spanish system. But if we've seen, particularly in this tournament, that the model at the top is just broken, and we didn't have any answers for anything, then surely we need to rethink what came below. What I'm saying is maybe we need to look at whether it's tricky, isn't it? Because he's had some success, recent success. But that's what my point is. If it's broken at the top, and that's meant to be the model for everything follows below, then what follows below cannot be sufficient at the top, right? Right. I had this theory about if we're going to force an inexperienced manager or inexperienced managers, especially at this level, or otherwise known as unsuccessful managers. I'm not talking about the Newcastle now. I'm talking about Lampard and the other names that they throwing forwards. It's like, yeah, let's go Lampard. See what he done at Chelsea. Or maybe you could, if you listen, we should go for the best manager on the day, obviously. Best manager that's available, that's the one we should put forward for England. We learn about our mistakes. Capello. They need to be able to speak English. I mean, maybe surely that's an obvious, but it's definitely obvious now because it wasn't then. Right, but to be fair, Capello was a top man back in the day, or the top rated man. Minimum they speak English. If we're going to go for an English person and just kind of force them into this position, I've got a proposition for you, which I know is not going to happen, but let's just hear me out quickly. So say if you get Lampard and plus one other, right? Plus one other who's unproven as a success or unproven as a manager yet. Say Lampard's very early in his management, relatively. Anyway, maybe they should, in the week or as early as possible prior to a match, just present to the FA what their plan is, what their theory is, because they've all got these coaching badges, lay it out and let a panel, which probably ironically will include and will hopefully include Southgate. So this is what I plan to do. So just as an, for instance, just to flesh it out a little bit, say if in that final game, Southgate says, okay, I'm going to go, forward the back so I can deal with the wingers, and then the FA or the panel that he's presenting to say, well, didn't we just see that for the first 4 matches and it failed? So how are you going to play out of defence? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to play the ball to Pickford, then he's going to launch it forwards. Oh, okay. How are we going to play out from the back? Well, okay, so if we don't launch it forwards, okay, we've got the guys on the wings, so we're gonna run forwards and they're gonna wait for contact because we're running into traps and we can't come out of the trap. That's why it's called a trap, right? So we wait for the contact, then we go down, and then we move our players forwards into attacking positions, and then we can try and get some chances from that. And then the people in the FA are going, oh, very good, Gareth. And as I say, you've got 2 managers. You put 2 forwards, right? So you listen to the other manager, who basically, whoever's got the best ideas, leads training and leads tactics going into this. I know that's not going to happen. I'm just saying. If you're going to insist on an English manager, we know that they're unproven and unsuccessful, then let's try and get the best ideas that what they've got, or from more than one of those. Hopefully between the 2 of them, they come up with something useful. Anyway, FA, use that one.
In between them, should the English team have an English coach?
It's a very good question, that, guys. For me, I don't think they should have to have an English manager. I think it would be better because if the team were to go on and win it, it would feel like it's one of your own. When you're coming through as the academy and you go to make your debut as a local lad, it just feels that much more special. So ideally, yes, an Englishman, but I wouldn't be reluctant to look elsewhere. I think
possibly with one or two of the 3 managers particularly that I mentioned there, Klopp, Tuchel and Pochettino. They've all had real experience of Premier League football. I think before that wasn't the same, was it, with Sven and Capello? They came out, and I think that's kind of, they don't quite understand the footballing culture, the footballing ethos and perhaps expectation of this country. But I've always thought England should have an English coach. I think there's no other really major nation in football, with the possible exception of Portugal. France have never had anything but a French coach. Spain have never had anything but a Spanish coach. Germany have never had anyone but a German coach. Brazil, Argentina, the big powers, they've always managed to find one. We do genuinely have a problem that we're not creating or bringing on top English coaches. We talked a little bits about that at the end of the last podcast, which I think is down to possibly the kind of archaic way we played football up until recently. And we've transformed academies and players are learning different skills. The coaches, I think, will follow after that. But there are a few around, obviously, the ones we've mentioned already. But
guys, I think when we talk about English or British managers, I feel what we do in the media, and sometimes we can be guilty of this ourselves. So Lampard goes to Derby, does a very good job at Derby, bringing youngsters through. They should have went up that season, and it didn't quite get him up in that season. He goes to Chelsea. He has a transfer embargo against him. He still finishes in the Champions League. Steven Gerrard goes to Rangers, wins the league after how many different years. So we've got Potter, who played outstanding football at Brighton. We talk about rotations and systems and attacking football. He played that. Eddie Howe did a fantastic job at Bournemouth in terms of where they started and where they finished. Okay, in the end, they got relegated, didn't they? But they had a style of play and the budget that he was working with. Does so well at Newcastle. Again, at times they're restricted now because of the...
So I need to jump in now, right? You remember when they were talking about the impact of their comments? You know what I mean, on Gareth Southgate. They've also said this about the impact on British football, the culture, the positivity, and the players and individuals, right? So it sounds like now they're trying to talk things up, right? Remember when they mentioned about Lampard? No, don't you think if he was doing a good job or a half decent job, they would have stuck with him? Unless he's trying to say that they're trying to be... Lampard, the Chelsea legend, was unfairly treated by... No, he was fairly treated. He was accelerated up that ladder to be a manager with very limited experience in managing. Not the contrary. You know what I mean? And same with Steven Gerrard. Don't you think that if he was doing good things at Rangers, I'm not saying he didn't have any success. That's a 2-horse race. So they're going to be Rangers or Celtic. It's a 2-horse race, and if you underperform in that race, given whatever resources they gave him, then then they got a right to question. But listen, they are. Long story short, right now in this segment, they are petrified of talking anything down, even if they were being honest. So now they're just trying to balance it out by talking things up. But nothing will overcome the fact that if you don't go for the best managers, we're not going to get the best results. And if we go for second-rate managers, or good, they're very good managers, but they're not exceptional managers, then we won't get the best out of our team. We never will achieve what we're going to try to achieve, or want to achieve, or think we can achieve.
That they can spend. What happens in England is we overhype managers too soon. So Steven Gerrard gets the Aston Villa job too soon. And that doesn't mean he's a bad manager.
I don't think it was too soon for him. I just don't think they gave him much of a chance.
Well, yes, exactly. But he didn't get enough of a chance. He comes with a big aura of being Steven Gerrard. Everyone expects Steven Gerrard, the player, to be the same as a manager. That's never going to be the case. Managers need time. I think Lampard going back to Chelsea the second time didn't help him. Now, people have got
I think he recognises that himself.
They've got that thing of, he's not a good manager. He doesn't know what he do. These players... Mm-hmm. Ex-players who turned managers just need time to be able to develop. The question you ask, who's next in line, is so difficult because there's no one really who you would be confident and say...
Well, the thing is, what I was saying, I suppose, about the English thing is not possibly because they've not been given a chance for long enough. But, if you look at the titles won with English managers, even with the Premier League, you have to go back before the Premier League. So it was Howard Wilkinson, wasn't it, in the last year before it changed. So, we've not really produced that, but maybe because they don't get a chance, we've heard. But, they have had chances. But I think someone like, I've always thought, I know Frank Lampard really well. He's incredibly intelligent. He really gets the game. His analysis that he's worked with us is superb. I'd be more than comfortable with Frank in charge. I'd be more than comfortable with Eddie Howe. I think his kind of football, what we've seen at Newcastle, it's really attacking. It's forward thinking. And he plays the high press a lot of the time. So, Graham Potter's been out of the game for a little while now. It didn't happen for him at Chelsea, but we know Chelsea was a mess. So, I've always been of the thought that it should be an English manager if possible. But if you said to me, Jurgen Klopp would do it, or Pep Guardiola would do it, which I suspect they wouldn't, I might be wrong, you'd have to go, oh, blimey. That's a little bit different because they are absolutely proven an elite. Jurgen Klopp is obviously not working at the moment. I think he wants to take time out anyway. It might not be the right timing for him. I think he's turned down 1 or 2 jobs offers already, including America, I believe. But if either of those were available, you'd go, ooh, wow.
Exactly.
But I think it might come down to the English boys, and I think they could do a job. I think the important thing that when they address it and who it should be, obviously Gareth was a defensive-minded coach. He's tactically he was kind of cautious, and that's. It nearly worked, but not quite in the end. But I think next time, because of the way all these young players play for their clubs, high up the pitch, pressing, different kinds of ways, but basically aggressive front foot football, they need a coach that will take them there. They're in great state. you've got to 2 finals, a quarter-final of the World Cup and the semi-final of the World Cup. So this, it's going to be difficult because winning tournaments is so hard. But, the next appointment is obviously, it's vital.
I mean, the only thing I would say is international football can be different. You could have a complete idea of how the team wants to play. I totally agree with you. We said it from the start. If Southgate was to step down, we have to go with an attacking manager. But I think we shouldn't rush as well. I don't think we should rush the decision because you've got the World Cup coming up in 2 years. We've got some of the players who are going to be banging form. When we talk about...
The qualifiers will start, I suspect, in September. So do you need someone in charge for that? I mean, it's...
Well, you should do. Of course, yes, you should do. But I mean,
you could put someone, like a Lampard in.
Exactly.
Just carry it through for that stage. And then, because he's obviously not in work at the moment. And then, 2 or 3 games in, you might go, wow, this is quite good. Or the opposite. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud if you don't want to rush it.
Yeah, I would be on the side of just don't rush it. Make sure you've got everything. Because what we don't want, and I heard Jamie Carragher talking about... We're not used to winning, so we don't have a divine right.
Oh, no one has a divine right.
What I would say to that is this particular era now, with the players that we have, I believe we do have a divine right to be playing good football, attacking football, a team that knows how to win, is not afraid of going up against the big nations and just sort of flipping that mentality as... Because you're going to a tournament thinking we're up against France or Spain or whoever it may be, they're going to have the arrogance. But when we won the league in Man City, Man United, Chelsea, Liverpool, Arsenal, it goes on and it goes on. If we never thought we could get to that level, then what was the point even trying? I think we have to have a manager and players all aligned thinking we have the best squad. There's no reason why we can't go and win. And we have to have the attitude, confidence and mentality. And I know Jude gets a lot of stick for when he said, who else? And, he's got that sort of... But that's the arrogance you need to win football matches. And that's exactly the reason why he's at Real Madrid. And that's what we need going forward, I believe.
Right. One last question before we move on to something else. Who would you go for? If anyone in the world would say they'd do it.
Anyone in the world?
Just that. Your first pick.
Just come on, that's easy.
Pep Guardiola.
It's simple.
Before we go today, there's one final thing we wanted to discuss. Through our partnership this summer with EE, we've wanted to highlight the positivity around the home nations and the overall campaign.